I don't think many coaches have these accolades at the club level. It's very impressive, and I think that DC is very lucky to have a coach like this who's so, tactical and excited to play football and not just a kick and run game. So it's definitely going to be a change, and he has the personnel to do that in DC. So it's going to be really exciting to watch. And my only worry is that obviously he can't come till June. So preseason, which I could say that Juan with us in that preseason period was really crucial to how successful and how set up we were throughout the season. So it will be, that's a question mark for me, coming in June and really getting the team to where he wants it to be by the end of the season. So that's my only question. But other than that, I mean, you have a phenomenal coach who's going to implement a new style of football in this league, and it's going to be really exciting to watch.
Is that hard as a player as well? Because even from a manager's perspective, it's difficult because you want to implement things straight away. But for the players, they're almost in like a bit of a holding period, aren't they? Yeah,
there's a bit of a transition period, and you're obviously if there's an assistant coach that is just implementing what he wants and the style, that's okay, but it's still not the same. So it's definitely takes a bit of time, and you're going to lose that time a little bit, but obviously right when he gets in, hopefully they'll be ready to go, and but that'll be interesting to see throughout the season how different it could be from those 6 months without him and then the 6 months with.
With everything he's won, Darian, what's the biggest attraction for him to come to the NWSL to a team like the Washington Spirit?
I mean, you have Ashley Hatch, Ashley Sanchez, Trinity Rodman, Aubrey Bledsoe, Casey Kruger now. You have so many players that are fit what we've seen as his identity and style of play that he has with Barca. So I think him coming to the Spirit is huge. I think it fits in hand. Like I said before, I don't think that they're tactically how they were set up with previous coaches the last year or two really fits the personnel that they have. And I think he's coming in, it fits him perfectly, his style of play. It suits the players really well. He's won everything. And so I think it's time to make this move to the NWSL, which we know is the hardest league to play in. It's every weekend, we always joke, NWSL chaos.
Is it still the hardest league to play in, do you think?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's just getting more and more competitive. You're seeing, especially with all of these transfers of players, and it's becoming more attractive for international players to come here. I think the level's just going to keep rising, and especially with new owners and better facilities, there's no comparison at all.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, in Europe, usually it's typically the top 3-4 teams that you're competing against, and that's really it. Here, every weekend, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
There's a couple different conversations, right? We've talked about the expansion going on in NWSL, and then will that water down the product? We've seen that happen at times in MLS. There's so many teams, not enough top level players to go around. But there was also the conversation the last few years about so many players choosing to go to Europe. Europe really starting to take focus, especially some of the major countries give a lot of credit to England. They've really put a lot of focus on the women's game. The fans have come out. It's been incredible. And there's one thing they have that we don't, is Champions League.
Yeah.
And that draw. Do we think that all of a sudden now NWSL started to pull that leverage back to them? Do we think NWSL is still the place to be, or do you think Europe is only going to continue to get stronger? Because that is a fear that NWSL could start to fall by the wayside because we don't have anything that competes with Champions League.
No, I think it applies pressure, and I love it because it's just going to grow the game even more. I love that Europe has Champions League, and we all love to watch it. We're going to cover some of it. And I think there's conversations in the NWSL that something's going to happen where the teams will play against some other league. We don't know yet. But I know that that's a part of conversations because it needs to happen. Like, the world is craving it. The players are craving it. Getting rid of Challenge Cup. I mean, I was never a fan of Challenge Cup. I hated it because there needs to be some variety. I think last year when I played with Orlando, we played Gotham 4 times in a row within 6 weeks. So, yeah, it was crazy. And we lost every game.
Hell yeah, dude. Let's go Gotham.
Sadly, yeah.
But you played in Europe as well. I remember your time at Frankfurt. What do you think? What do you think about the draw of Europe versus NWSL?
Yeah, I was just going to say that it is attractive to go overseas and play in the Champions League because then, my first year playing with Frankfurt, we won the treble. And I said, oh, this is easy. I guess I should retire now. We won the league championship, we won the DFB Pokal, and then we won Champions League. And so at the time it was the UEFA Cup. But either way, that is why a lot of players choose to play there in Europe, and they choose to, compete over there because you can win the most trophies. And so that is why it is attractive. NWSL, hopefully we can come up with our league and maybe the South American leagues, and maybe hopefully Canada soon. We can come up with our own, or we can have like a Club World Cup situation where the best team the previous year can then go play in a tournament. A Club World Cup situation. I don't know. So hopefully, like you said, we won't just go by the wayside because of all the work.
Attraction to pull everyone. It's interesting as well with Giráldez being the third Spanish manager. Obviously, you played for a Spanish manager. It'd be interesting to see the players that he's able to maybe bring to the NWSL. What about Vlatko, though, Ali? Because everybody knows him so well from his time with the US Women's National Team, now taking over the Kansas City Current. Do you like this move?
I really do, because he is home, and I really value Vlatko, and I really enjoyed playing for him. I do think that he should be with a team on a more consistent basis, because comparing club to national team, he was so much more successful with club. But that's because I know that he loves to coach, and he loves to lead a team, and he loves to manage players, and he gets the best out of them if he's with them consistently every single day, week in and week out. And I think that this is going to set him up for that success again, and it'll be really impressive to see the new stadium and all the hype and the new environment, and everything's like top class there. So I think he fits perfectly. He's home, and I think he'll be really happy there. And when you're happy, you bring your best, and that's going to be exciting to watch.
I'm gonna pull an Ali Krieger and say, you know what? As a women's national team coach, he didn't do so well.
He didn't.
Just like the Chicago Red Stars didn't do so well. I think he has a lot to prove. And I think he knows that. And I think obviously he's a stellar coach. He knows what he's doing. And I think this is going to be a good opportunity for him. He gets to mold the team in his way, as opposed to just sort of be handed a roster and say, you got to pick and choose from this and try to play a style, and maybe put players in positions where they maybe aren't as adept, and hope to sort of pull it together. I think he's going to have a lot more of his imprint on this team. But I think it goes without saying, he's got a lot to prove. He maybe has a chip on his shoulder a little bit about the way it ended with the women's national team. And maybe that's a good thing for KC Current. Yeah. Maybe this is a good opportunity. They have a stadium. They have a massive fan base. Everything around it, this whole project seems to be going really, really well. Hopefully this decision does as well.
Do you think in some ways, though, Vlatko got caught in a transition period with the US Women's National Team, because it felt like a lot of young players were coming through, and he was almost caught in, you had such an incredible team that had so many players that had won so much. Do you think he almost felt the pressure from everybody to play those players, but also saw the players coming through? Because I even remember back to the CONCACAF W Championship in Mexico. It almost felt like he didn't know which his best 11 was, because it was time for more rotations, but are you brave enough to make those changes?
I think right before I, finished playing with the national team, COVID had happened. And I remember we had just won the Olympic qualifiers, and we were prepping for the Olympics, and then everything came to a halt. And so I think, I don't want to make excuses, but that was, a moment where there was a year there that was really difficult to then bring players back in, let players go, kind of adjust the team. So yeah, I think a little bit of that, but also like Alexis said, he has a moment where he can kind of bring his own players and form his own team and figure out, the personnel that he wants. And so I don't know necessarily if that was the best I've seen for, compared to other coaches that I played for. But, you can add that year in there. That was a bit awkward. And then Olympics got pushed back, a whole year. And that was a difficult adjustment, I think, for everyone, coaches and players alike.
Even the scheduling was just off, wasn't it? We were playing 2022 games in 2021, or the other way around. Whichever way, it was a bit confusing, wasn't it? I'm even confused talking about it. Let's move on to Bev Giráldez, because this is someone that you know well. You talked about doing your coaching license with her. She was the assistant coach of Racing Louisville. From the outside looking in, it looks like the players absolutely adore her. Is that right, Darian?
Yeah. I had the honor to play with Bev at Reign, OG Reign. And from my first day there, she was a coach. She is exactly how she is as a coach as she was as a player. Incredibly technical, tactical. Her passion emanates from her when you hear her talk about the game, and her love for the players. And I think she looks at players holistically, which is something we've talked about, been super critical of the NWSL for their coaching hires, of just kind of bringing people in, people hiring their friends that don't really have like their heart invested in the game. Bev does. She's played in the NWSL since the beginning. She's played overseas. And I think she's finally going to get the flowers she deserves. And I love that she's taken this route to finally becoming a head coach, because if you go watch our interview with her on Attacking Third, she talks about educating the entire time. She's like geeking out about teaching players to check their shoulders and go into space and passing patterns and develop their own style of play and making decisions instead of kind of instilling, this is how I want you to play. There's right and wrong answers. Soccer is situational. So she's teaching players how to make real-time decisions, and I love it. I think she's one of the coaches that we've talked about that we need for development of players, where we're seeing European teams excel. She's going to be the coach, I think, that's going to help U.S. soccer and the NWSL excel to that level.
She's so bubbly and smiley, even looking at those photos. But is there another side of her, Ali, that we don't see when we get to just see her on the sidelines and see her in interviews?
No, I mean, I think you see what you get. And she, you know, something that I remember so specifically with Bev, which I was so lucky to play for her as, you know, when she was our assistant coach in Gotham our first year. And even though the year didn't go as well as we wanted, it didn't reflect how good they were, her and Becky and Scott. And I think that she really knows how to manage players. She really knows how to connect with players. She really knows how to get the best out of you by kind of going a little bit deeper than just on the playing field. And so I think that connection was really crucial and critical in the time, you know, in the year that we had. I think having individual meetings and going over film and video and really being specific and working individually with players on their development process was something that I'll always remember about her. And I know that this is going to be her first year as a head coach. So I know, you know, maybe Louisville, that was a bit of a, you know, familiarity aspect, you know, hiring her, but obviously she's proven herself. And I am so happy for her. And I've seen her firsthand on the field and the information that she gives and how she teaches the game. And it's really impressive because of how young she is. And this will be a great experience for her. I'm excited to watch.
It's really nice to see the pathway up, isn't it, for her and for Becky Tweed being the assistant and now being head coaches in the NWSL.